Well, welcome to the studio, NCG studio here in Texas. It's good to be with you again. It's good to be sitting by this lovely lady that I refer to as my wife. Actually, more than that, but just for the sake of the show, I'll just say my wonderful wife. Say hello.
Hi.
That'll do. Boy, it's been some kind of week, hasn't it?
Yeah.
This has been one of the fullest weeks that I can remember. A little bit of everything. We've had concerts, we've had suicides, we've had recital. Yeah, we've had just, you name it. We've been dealing with it. But I'll tell you what, one of the songs we heard this week, What a Wonderful World. And it is. It's exciting. It's a wonderful time to be alive. And I was noticing just a few minutes ago that the name of our show, we talked about changing it, but it remains What Would Love Do? And so, hey, we'll go with that because, I mean, that's what we're trying to figure out anyway, isn't it? As a matter of fact, I think what love would do right now would introduce our very special guest. We're privileged to have with us today BJ Saylor. BJ, are you there?
I'm here, and y'all were loud and clear in Texas.
Well, good. Well, I wanted to start off just by letting you know that I know we haven't had a lot of communication. We've been on a show or two together, and I've got to see you on other occasions on different shows, and I've heard a lot of what you had to say. Oh, I see you now. I don't know if you have other friends in Texas, but you can be assured that you have friends, not only two of them that you're looking at, but several others here. We're just proud to call you friend and look forward to more communication. And so I'll just give you an opportunity to say a little something in the way of introduction.
Sure. Well, of course, I'm BJ. One of my main names, at least. My full name is really long, so this kind of shortened some of it down to that. I guess pertaining to the topic, or more to the relevance of the show or program, you know, I'm originally from Eastern Kentucky, up in, coal mining, tobacco country in the Appalachian Mountains. And I have someone who was in Christianity for, I'm going to say, about 20 years of my life, and I left about 3 to 4 years ago, and I've been on this interesting journey ever since. So, whatever else I guess anyone would want to know, or wherever we're going to take it from there. But I just moved up from that area, live now in Tennessee, and that's then through a series of events I came into contact with the New Covenant group.
Well, we're certainly glad that you did. We're definitely glad to be a part of it. And you mentioned a term there that has become popular, especially among the New Covenant group, and that is the term journey. And I love that term. It is, life is a journey, and it really gets interesting when you break away from the status quo. And for me, I can speak for me, and I think I can speak for my wife. She's sitting right here, so she can correct me if I'm not speaking for her. But when we really, it seems like the better part of the journey began, and I'll put it like that, was when we began to think. And in my case, I wasn't just one of those that just automatically thought of all the right questions. I had to be provoked a little bit. And once I was provoked in my thinking just a little bit, it kind of got the ball rolling. And I went from a person who felt like I knew just about everything there was to know about God and His Word and, things like that, to a person who felt like, you know what, I think I really need to start over and question a whole lot of things. And it sounds like that's somewhat maybe where you are. Am I right?
Well, it's where I began.
Okay.
There was this, numerous of life events that happened those 3 to 4 years ago when I began this journey. And one of the things that began this journey for me, I guess, if I could go into it just for a minute, is
Sure.
actually reading Watchmen by Alan Moore, which is a celebrated graphic novel or comic book or whatever. And it really got me into thinking about how I viewed fundamental reality as we, live it and observe it on a daily basis. So that led to a bunch of questions, and it led to me asking the questions that were totally barred either, implicitly or explicitly in Christianity. And that was a very fundamental nature attribute or even the concept of God. And when I began doing that, that's really, I guess, when, I started turning the handle on the Pandora's box. And it has been surprising and unexpected ever since.
Well, that kind of leads right into the topic that I wanted to deal with today. And that has to do with, I'll try to keep it as short as I can. If I was going to put it as a title, it might be kind of difficult, but just kind of explain what I want us to talk about. And that is, why does it seem like that religion prevents people or seems to keep people from being able to sit down and have a civilized conversation? We could take it a lot further and say, why won't we discuss things to the point of determining, can we come to some same conclusions? Can we build better relationships outside of a religious system, or maybe come to some kind of agreement? But we'll keep it maybe a little more basic today and just talk about, and I'm sure that this relates somewhat, at least to your experience from what you've said just now and what you said in previous conversations. The ability for people just to be able to sit and discuss their religious beliefs civilly and not part ways as a result. And I would like for you to give us some of your thoughts on that to begin with, and then I'll let my wife have a turn, and we'll go from there.
Well, my experience is that whenever you question someone about their particular beliefs, and I've mentioned this before, I think on a hangout that I had with Greg Bray and Bob and some other people, and when you go and you begin to question, or even just have a conversation where you may bring up a particular idea in Christian theology, fundamentalism or whatever, my experience has been that whenever you do that, the people, the way they comprehend that is that you are attacking the very identity of who they are as a human being. That essentially their humanity has been sold down the river for an ideology. It's basically, to me, it's almost talking, and this may sound a little ridiculous, but it's almost like you're talking to someone without a soul, to me. And, yeah. It's just like, well, even if you were to somehow find some way of becoming civil or finding some common ground, it's not something I don't think that's going to really work in the long term, because at that very core foundation, they are taught and brainwashed for however long or however dedicated they are to that ideology, is that if they don't try to get you saved, then you are going to split hell wide open, and they're going to be judged for it, even if they themselves don't go to hell, and they'll lose out on some reward, which in most cases they're going to give back to Jesus anyway, so it kind of defeats the purpose. But that's just something that I've noticed, is that appealing to their humanity or appealing to their rational mind, as hopeless as it may sound, is something that I've been trying to do for years with no success. The only success it seems to bring forth is when there is a lot of pain and they go through some type of god-awful tragedy of some kind. That seems to be the only sense of motivation that does that. Something that destroys this little delusional bubble that they live in, whether that would be some accident or injury or loss of family member or something traumatic. I mean, just something that just finally drives them over that edge. That seems to be the only thing that works. And, that's just me, my experience.
I've actually seen cases where that doesn't work, where it just causes them to dig in deeper, thinking they're not really doing enough, or...
Right.
What's your thoughts?
Seen that too.
Well, I think that most religions, theology or whatever, is fear-based. It's based on fear and insecurity. When you go and you sit in the churches, it's like everything they teach you, there's a underlying threat under it.
Yeah.
And so it's almost as if you're thrown out into the water where you can't touch, and they keep throwing you these little sticks of doctrines or whatever for you to hang on to. And so when you start discussing this, they're just clinging to what they have because it's saving them. And they don't want to let go. They don't want to relax. They don't want to question what it is. And, even this week, I was talking to a friend, and we have known each other for a long time, but religion has come between us. And one of the things that, we just got into conversation, and she was expressing to me, well, we're kind of afraid to do this or that. And I said, well, if you let fear rule your life, you miss out. It's, God is love, and his love has nothing to do with fear. It casts out fear. And so you miss out on life when everything has to be controlled by fear. And one of the statements, and she came back with a comment full of fear. Well, my husband, he's not going to change, and, till death do us part, so I'll hang in there with him, whatever he decides. And because she's afraid to stand up for herself. And I don't know, it's just so sad. It's heartbreaking how full of fear people are, how insecure they are, and questioning anything. You question the preacher, you question what the quote scripture says, you question anything, and you become an outcast because you're told that you're going to hell, or something is going to happen to you anyway. Right. God's going to correct those whom he loves. And
or curse them, whatever.
People will begin to ostracize you. They don't want anything to do with you because you're questioning. It's sad.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because the thing I was thinking of, and at the risk of sounding somewhat like a preacher, which I definitely don't consider myself, so if I sound that way, forgive me. But there was actually 4 things that I was thinking of, just to throw out there. And the first 3 are kind of connected. And the first one would be beliefs. It seems like with religion comes a set of beliefs. And it's whether they actually have any logic, any reason to them, Any proofs is not even an issue. It's just this is what I believe. And in many cases, I think actually in most cases, it leads to superstition, which actually leads to fear, which is what you were talking about. And of course, I'm not just speaking as an observer, but I'm speaking somewhat from experience. You know, we've lived through a lot of this. But the fourth thing is, I think, is the solution, and it's love. You know, and here we are. The title of our show is "What Would Love Do?" And in this case, when you've got a person that's locked into this, you know, what do we do? And I love what you've stated, BJ, about 4 years of. Believe me, brother, I understand what you've gone through, because we've gone through the same thing for, I guess it's getting close to 20 years now, when we began to break away from what we were involved in. And the further we get from it, the more relaxed we get, the more accepting, as far as realizing that, you know, we may know somebody for 30 years, and on the 31st year, they say, you know, I can begin to see some of what you're talking about as being true. And that's where true love comes in. And the reason I bring up the term love is twofold. You know, every confessing Christian is going to say, oh, yeah, we believe God is love. The Bible says that. But even those who cling to the Bible as, quote, the inerrant word of God from Genesis to Revelation, I would like to ask the question, what do you do with 1 Corinthians 13? I mean, it gives us a wonderful description of what love is. And it's patient. So does that mean it's ever impatient? I don't think so. So how long does God, you know, if God is love, how long does he suffer with us? Or what's being expressed there? Is this something that, you know, I'll be patient with you for a little while? Keeps no record of wrongs. When does it ever do that? According to that description, it never does. And so if we don't have the right understanding, the right definition of love, then we're not going to be challenged the way we need to be challenged. And the beauty of it is, I think we can all admit, you know, hey, I haven't done that. You know, I still tend to get a little impatient at times. You know, I'm probably holding some records of wrongs. I can't think of any at the moment, but to say that I don't keep a record of wrongs, I think I might be exaggerating just a little. Am I always kind? I doubt it. So, you know, as far as I'm concerned, I think we've got a major task. But let me bring in one more thing, and then I want to get some more of your thoughts, BJ. But I sense the beginning, and I hope I'm not using too strong a word here, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway, the beginnings of a revolution of the right kind. People who say, you know, there's got to be more than this. And this is something that is doable. I mean, can we sit down? Can we, just like we're doing right now? You're there in Tennessee. I wish you were right here. I hope that we can get together one day and just sit and relax and spend some quality time together. But just understanding the journey that we're on and being able to relate to one another. And as far as I'm concerned, all of us need to take this journey. We need to start where you've started and where we've started and move forward just as far as we can go. What do you say?
Well, I think in order for that, you know, journey to even begin on the scale that would need to be in order for something positive to take place or change, in order, you know, it goes back to what would love do? You know, I have a lot of theories about love personally. I think love has many different forms and it has many different manifestations, as in its function or purpose. Right now, the love I am most capable of, and which may be limiting, but is of tolerance and being able to accept people for who they are.
Yeah.
And that's something that Christianity is really going to have to really improve on, because whether it's from the newer issues with LGBT rights and marriage equality, and throughout other things throughout the last century, that, civil rights, that they were not really that supportive of. And it's they're going to have to just begin to see reality and realize that not everybody lives in their bubble. Other people in the world are different. Other people have different ideas. Other people have different religious, sexual preferences, spiritual practices, potentially philosophical worldviews. I mean, the whole spectrum of, what we identify in human experience. And Christians are going to have to stay, picketing funerals and stuff, which I know not everybody does. It's mostly Westboro Baptist type nonsense. But, they're going to have to get outside of these church walls and actively engage the community without judgment. And the other side of the secularists are going to have to do the same. It's going to have to be not just a two-way street, but it's going to have to be a multiple-way street. It's something that is going to have to take everybody putting their belief systems down, not changing them. I'm not asking anybody to do that. I'm asking everybody to say, I see you as another human being, no different than myself in any way.
Exactly.
With the same amount of equal worth. And I am willing to put my beliefs on the back burner to attempt to form a relationship with you for no other purpose than to see the good in you and me and everyone else potentially grow. And in order for that to happen, I think, for, the strong word you used, revolution, it's something that I believe is going to happen, if it even can, through individual relationships and individuals becoming, more unconditional, accepting of themselves first before they can do any of that. And as long as that power structure within Christianity is in, I don't see any other room for change. So it's going to take some people like Martin Luther King, like Gandhi, and others to create this type of thing, I believe.
I couldn't agree more. I love what you're saying. And, it goes back to what New Covenant, the idea of New Covenant group is. It's people doing that exact thing. And, anything for it to catch on, for it to go anywhere, it's got to start. And, I, for one, feel like we have begun to go that direction. And what we're doing right here is a wonderful example of it. And like I said, I couldn't agree more. It's an individual thing. One-on-one, people getting together, being willing to set aside their differences, to question their beliefs, to put it on the table, listen to what someone else has to say. Mm-hmm. But beyond that, I can't help but, and I don't get the wrong idea here, I'm not claiming to be a prophet or anything like that, but I can't help but imagine, at least, once this thing gets to moving forward, people just tend to, they stay away from something if they're not sure of it. But if they see something going on and they can begin to see the benefits of it, and I say this all the time, if people knew the kind of relationship that my wife and I had, I think people would probably flock to us saying, how do you get that? How can we have that? And people need to see a demonstration of the goodness of life, how good it can be. If we can truly relate to one another at the level that we're talking about here.
Well, I agree too. Just starting the conversation with people is the big thing. If you can get get someone to sit down and just talk with you, that's a big thing. That is just huge. And I love what NCG is all about, and I remember when Dr. Jones put on the first show and how it's grown from there. I mean, there's people all over that now want to be involved, and I see this thing growing, and it is exciting.
Oh, yeah.
And it's exciting to sit here and just listen. I'm not a big conversator. I'd rather sit and listen to folks and learn, you know. Now, one-on-one, I can get into conversation, but usually when there's quite a few people, I'd rather listen. I'd rather hear what other people have to say. And I love the way this thing is growing. I love hearing all the different comments, and it causes me to grow because I hear things that I didn't even think about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really awesome. I love this.
Well, may I say something about you?
I guess so.
I'm going to talk about her. I mean, if I'm going to talk about her, I should talk about her with her sitting next to me, shouldn't I? She's you're looking at an individual that, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have done something like this.
No.
There's no way that she could have been forced to do something like this. And that is to get in front of a camera, to know there's people watching and listening to her speak. And she can even see herself right now, and she's doing okay with that.
I'm not looking.
But would you say that's a wonderful change for you?
Yeah.
She's here because she wants to. I didn't have to twist her arm or anything. But it's just a belief in what this thing's about and where it's going. What about it, BJ?
Yeah, I think that's a thing with me as well. This is something that I actually enjoy doing. It's nice to have a sense of a community, and to have an actual exchange of ideas without fear of repercussion, because that's something that I'm sure that we all who came out of that fundamentalist type of mindset, we know all too well about the rejection of free flowing ideas and all those things. And I just this is something I don't get paid to do. I actually want to do it. I mean, this is something that is actually that I enjoy doing because I know the value. I guess what I'm trying to get around to say, I know the value of how important it is to have a good conversation with people, and how important it is to be honest and open with these ideas or about any other topic. I realize that now more than I ever have, and that to me is what I thought church was all about growing up. It was this, I had this idealistic perception that church was supposed to be something like the Andy Griffith Show or the Waltons or Little House on the Prairie or something, where it's this almost, this real pure, innocent kind of time, and that type of thing just never ever was a reality. And something more of like this is far more, in what I would have in mind, because there's not, I think one of the things, going back to what we were saying about a great change that would happen, is that we have to really quit putting expectations on people, I think, to conform to our way of thinking and beliefs. Whenever we put those expectations, then we fail, because they could disappoint, people could get disappointed, people could disagree, people could get angry. But if we just accept people unequivocally for who they are and their ideas without expectation of change or any other thing, then I think we would, get past those walls that so many people have built up. And I think this studio does a great job of doing that with respect and courtesy to people, as, it's been shown to me. And I'm not, anybody that knows me knows I don't BS anything. I say exactly what I think, and that's exactly my experience here so far.
That's good. That's good. And I don't see any reason why it's not going to stay that way. I was having a conversation with someone yesterday, and even, I have found that even when it comes to the Bible, which when I'm talking to someone that I know is a church person, I intentionally kind of try to avoid a lot of conversation about the Bible unless the conversation goes there, and then I'm more than willing to express myself, and that is the change of mind that I've had, because so much of what I used to would say, this is the inerrant word of God, I now say might have some good historical value. There may be some value to it somewhere or another. A lot of it I would just reject flat out and say, these are stories that don't even really need to be told. We don't need more stories of murder and genocide and this sort of thing. But to the one who banks on the Bible, there's just this one little phrase there, and this was the comment that I made yesterday. I don't know of anything else that this can be said for, but this was a statement that, as far as I understand, and this is the English, Paul, as Dr. Jones was referring to this morning. I don't know what he actually said in the language he spoke in, but the English version of it goes something like this: love never fails. Just 3 words. And when you backtrack a little bit and you see, according to John, God is love. And Paul, instead of saying, God is the way, Jesus is the way, he tells a group of people at a place called Corinth, he says, let me show you the most excellent way. And then he begins to talk about love. And kind of at the end of his explanation, description, whatever you want to call it, about love, he follows it up by saying, love never fails. And I guess I take that somewhat as a challenge because, to me, when I look at history and I look at where we are today and in Christianity today especially, the one who makes so many claims of itself, then I say, what a challenge. This is somewhere we haven't gone. I at least if we have, I don't know about it. There may be another place like the place that we're at right now, the New Covenant group. And if there is, I hope we can connect because we will flow together. We will just continue the conversation just as we're doing right now. But I'm willing to put it all on the line and say, okay, well, let's see if this is true. I think, you mentioned Gandhi. I think to a certain degree, that's what he did. He said, these teachings, they sound so good, this love your enemies, this, put down the sword, put down the gun. Let's refuse to fight. And, I tell you what, he made quite an impression. And I'm just one who would like to see, okay, let's at least, let's try this thing a while.
Yeah, I agree. That's what's so amazing about Gandhi is that he led a total peaceful, nonviolent revolution. Yeah. And look what happened. The results speak for themselves. That's something that I hear so much. In the town that I live in, it probably has the highest success of failed revival attempts that I've ever seen in my life. I swear they have gotten everyone from different circles in evangelical, charismatic Christianity. And I have been to so many of these things, actively participated, regretfully now, in these events, whether music or whatever. And, it's like no one, and I was tempted to do this the other night. I have a little story I had when I went to the movies, but I won't get into it. Is I'm just about to the point. I'm so frustrated that I'm about to say, you know what? This is all just nonsense. I'm about to just go up to the square and just start my own little protest and just say, this isn't working. Why don't we actually, instead of going in here and praying and raising our hands and waiting for something to pop magically out of the sky, why don't we actually collaborate as a community and see what we can do to face all of these, social economic problems that we have where I live? There's a very high unemployment rate, I believe, and there's a lot of people that I know of that live below the poverty line. And, I'm just thinking, let's actually try to do something rather than just pray and all of this. And I don't think it'll ever happen. But at the same time, I just, I've been one of those people. I'm not trying to brag about myself, but, some friends of mine, we had a community garden a few years ago. It was all organic, several acres, that we would grow all kinds of things, thousands of tomato plants, watermelons, corn, all kinds of cool stuff. And it's hard work, anybody who's ever done it.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
and it's all organic too. It It was all hardcore. And, you know, I personally went and appealed to several different churches throughout this county that I live in, which is over 100 and something, maybe around 130 to 150. And because we were looking for volunteers to come help grow this, because we were growing it for the community, we were going to give all this food away to people who wanted it or needed it.
Wow.
And we had, at most, that I could count, helping us, and this is many acres, 9, 10 acres possibly. We had maybe 10 people at most.
Gosh.
Helping on this. That was one of the things that really soured the taste for Christianity in my mouth, is because you know, there are very poor people where I live at. Places like Domino's Pizza won't even deliver to places I've went and fed people. They consider it so dangerous or whatever. And I'm sitting here thinking, your priorities are so stupid and insignificant compared to the greater commandments attributed to Jesus Christ. Your goal to pass out, you know, gospel tracts at gas stations and all this stuff is their idea of helping out the greater community that I live in. Or it's to go have a tent revival and tell them how they're going to go to hell so we can get them in and get their offering and get them secure and have an investment for the rest of their lives. And I just can't, you know, it's just that, I don't know, I guess I'm bending a little bit because of the experience I had a few days ago, but it's just like, where is your priorities really at? What's really important to you, being doctrinally correct or doing the right thing? And you know, that's just kind of where I'm at right now, is that there's just this big surge of apathy that exists within fundamentalistic Christianity. I mean, they have no problem whatsoever telling you you're going to hell, but when you're actually living in hell on the streets as someone who's homeless, they don't even pay you attention. And I know that firsthand because I've seen it.
For what it's worth, you may not need to brag on yourself, but I'll brag on you. I think that's a wonderful thing, as a wonderful idea that you had, and it saddens me to know that you didn't have any more involvement in that, because I think that's where we need to go. And I commend you for going there, and I just want to encourage you, hang in there, because I think we're building, you know, a community of people, hopefully around the globe, that can see this and will want to participate, or are tired of all the baggage that's been put on them, that it does no one any good. And you know, I think that's one of the things that we need to find ourselves doing, is just be an encouragement to one another. You know, even James, in the letter he wrote, he could see through that sort of thing. You know, if you tell somebody, be warm, be full, you know, go out and get it yourself.
In all my years of Christianity, I didn't mean to cut you off, but all of my years of Christianity, I think the book of James was the one that was least preached about.
Yeah.
Well, there was some things there that people certainly shy away from.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I think they preached more on 3 John before they would preach more on James, if I'm not mistaken. I always wondered that, but after the experience that my friends and I had at the garden, that pretty much summed up why.
Yeah. Well, you know, my observation has been, since I've really gravitated away from church and, you know, just the Bible being the Word of God, is I find that people love staying in the Old Testament. They want to be a Samson. They want to be a David.
Oh, sorry about that. My computer's acting up. I need to shut it off. Sorry about that.
Oh, no problem. No problem. I didn't know what was going on. I thought we had a fire breaking out or something. Maybe the Holy Ghost fire or something.
No, that was just some of my music that I enjoy. No, I had it on here. It was, like I said, screwing up before. It's why I was later getting on the show. I should have, but I've got it closed now. I didn't go and do nothing. Hopefully I can fix it.
Hey, we enjoy good music, so that's not.
Well, it's a lot heavier than typical. That's my drug of choice, is heavier, faster music. So That's just me.
All right. Well, hey, I heard you brought up Andy Griffith earlier, and I know that you're a man of many voices. Are you good with any of the voices from the Andy Griffith show?
Um, the thing is with me, I can do a lot of the voices, I think, or at least some of them, but I would have to. I don't know if I could do anything with my phone because a lot of times I act out a whole character. I guess it's from my community theater experiences that I've had in a few productions. But
Oh,
I can't remember a lot of the lines either. Of course, golly, you got Gomer Pyle, who actually turned out to be gay, which I thought was absolutely awesome. Because people around here talk about we need to go back to the Andy Griffith days. I'm like, we sure do, Gomer was gay. Let's go back to that. But a lot of people shut up once I made that post. But yeah, I don't have as many voices as I remember because I watched Andy Griffith a long time ago, and I haven't watched it honestly in years. I could do the voices that I'm better at doing is things more from like movies and things that I guess more people and little stuff that's a little bit more popular that people would be more aware of. I do fairly well at some comic book villains. The Joker from The Dark Knight, Bane from The Dark Knight Rises, the Batman. I can do. What else can I do? I can do some Lord of the Rings characters as well. It just has to depend, really.
all right. Well, we certainly look forward to hearing more of those. Well, honey, what else you got to say? I think we're about to run out of time here, so let me get your final thoughts, and then we'll let BJ give some final thoughts.
Well, I've enjoyed this. I think y'all have already said it. We just need to come together and conversate, be honest, and just care about each other. Reach out to the community. And I'm all for that.
Absolutely. What about you, BJ? Final thoughts?
Well, I think that it's very important, to remember that no matter, or not no matter, but no matter who we come across, regardless of their belief system, I think it's imperative for any type of change to happen is to accept them, conditionally, without expectation. And I think that is what love would do in our day-to-day actions and relationships with people. So that's, and I think that's the only way they can foster any type of positive growth that could provide change.
I couldn't agree more. I guess my final thought, I did want to bring this up at some point. One thing that I've seen with New Covenant Group, it seems like we've had way more attraction or experienced way more attraction from the atheistic community. And I couldn't be happier about that. I mean, and when I consider, why is this the case? Why aren't more Christians, more Bible believers? Actually, when I say that term, those two words together, I can answer my own question, but it's so disappointing not to see more professing Christians come our way and support us rather than put us down and throw us under the bus and that sort of thing. But when I consider the atheistic community, and I hate to even refer to them that way, although I'm sure they don't mind. It's, I just don't like labeling folks anymore. Like you say, I really agree with that we're just all people and we need to learn to accept one another unconditionally. But I think the ones that have gone the way of atheism, they have nothing to lose. There's not a fear there. There's not a superstition there to protect or a set of beliefs so much. And it gives them a lot more liberty. And plus the fact they seem to be more inclined to the things that you're referring to, doing things that are helpful to the community rather than actually end up being detrimental. And I'm like you, I grew up thinking that church was a place where we needed to be, where there was safety, there was comfort, there was encouragement, and so forth. But like you said, ask the wrong questions, and that all
you get the
comes
shaft.
But let me say one more thing before we sign off here, and that is that we've been missing Stephen here. He's got one more final to take, and then he says he's going to be back in with both feet. So we're looking forward to him being back on the show, and we look forward to this afternoon. We have a full schedule of shows coming up. We want to encourage everybody to catch as much of that as you can. It's going to be worth your while.
And thank you, BJ, for being with us today. We've
no
enjoyed
problem.
you.
No problem. I enjoyed it too. It's always nice to, keep the conversation going.
Absolutely. We look forward to more for sure.
Mm-hmm. So do I.
And I guess from NCG Studios, we're going to sign off and say, have a good day. We look forward to next time.